Meghan Markle flew to Geneva to give the most important speech of her post-royal career, and she made sure Harry wasn't anywhere near it. She is standing at a memorial for children who died because of the internet. 50 illuminated light boxes. Grieving families. A Who director beside her. It is the most powerful stage she has ever stood on, and she chose to stand on it completely alone, not because Harry couldn't make it. Not because of scheduling. Not because of the kids. According to insiders, she specifically did not want him there. Because the second he walks into any room, sources say, the story stops being about her, and hours before that speech about protecting children from social media, she posted a photo of her 4-year-old daughter on Instagram. How does someone deliver a speech this powerful and hand critics this much ammunition at the same time? Stay with me, because this story is not what you think. Let's place this properly. Meghan Markle is 44 years old. Former actress. Former senior royal. Now a California-based philanthropist, brand founder, and one of the most scrutinized women on the planet. Before Geneva, she had been building slowly, carefully, a post-royal identity. The Netflix show. The As Ever lifestyle brand. The podcast. Piece by piece, a solo career. Separate from Harry, separate from the palace drama. Geneva was supposed to be the moment it all clicked. An international stage. A genuine cause. A speech that insiders were calling the most important public appearance of her post-royal life, and then a photo of her daughter in a wardrobe, posted hours before she took the stage, handed her critics exactly what they needed. Before we go any further, I want to know where you stand on this. Do you think Meghan is genuinely trying to build something here, or does she keep undermining herself? Drop it in the comments. Be honest. I read every single one. This is where it gets complicated. Because the story has at least 3 layers, and most people are only talking about one. Let's go back to the beginning of this week. May 17th. Geneva, Switzerland. Meghan Markle appears at the Place des Nations, one of the most significant international advocacy venues in the world, to open the Lost Screen Memorial alongside the World Health Organization. The memorial itself is genuinely affecting. 50 illuminated light boxes. Each one displaying the lock screen image of a child who died as a result of online violence or digital harm. Real children. Real names. Real grief in the faces of the families standing nearby. This was not a PR stunt looking for a cause. This was Archwell doing the work it was built to do. And Meghan's speech reflected that. She said, and this is a direct quote, "Behind me stands the Lost Screen Memorial." Not statistics. Not avatars. Not data points. Children. Each name belonged to a child who was loved beyond measure. A child whose laughter once filled a kitchen. Whose shoes once waited by a front door. Whose future once felt limitless. That is a genuinely good speech. Written carefully. Delivered with intention. But here's what nobody's talking about, the question of who wrote it. A source told Radar Online that critics are accusing the speech itself of sounding algorithmically generated. The source noted the deep irony, a speech warning about the dangers of AI potentially sounding like it was produced by AI. Is that a confirmed fact? No. Clearly labeled as unverified criticism, not established truth. But the accusation is already spreading. And it matters for what comes next. Now let's talk about Harry. Because his absence from Geneva wasn't an accident. It wasn't logistics. According to multiple sources speaking to Rob Shooter at Naughty But Nice, an insider outlet with a consistent track record on Sussex coverage, Meghan deliberately chose not to bring him. This was Meghan's moment, one insider said. She knew the second Harry walked into the room, the conversation would shift away from her. Another source was even more direct. Meghan simply wanted this stage to herself. People can stop pretending this was about childcare. They could easily have found help. Think about that for a second. This isn't speculation about a troubled marriage. This is insiders describing a strategic brand decision. Harry has become, in the words of those close to her, a narrative problem. Every time he appears beside her, the story pivots. Back to the palace, back to the feud, back to Spare, back to the Oprah interview. And here is the question I keep coming back to. Is Meghan wrong? If the cause genuinely gets more attention without Harry standing next to her, is that a smart move, or does it reveal something more concerning about where this marriage is headed? Tell me your honest read below. And then there was the photograph. Hours before taking the stage in Geneva to speak about the measurable harms of exposing children to social media, Meghan posted a photo on Instagram. Her daughter Lilibet, 4 years old, sitting among what journalist Tom Sykes described on Substack as appearing to contain, his words, $1 billion worth of clothing inside what looked like a luxury walk-in wardrobe. Sykes wrote directly, "Yes, a woman who is about to stand alongside the world's most senior public health official and talk about the measurable and preventable harms of exposing children to social media has just, voluntarily, for no apparent reason other than self-promotion, exposed her own child to social media." The backlash was instant. One royal commentator noted the timing made the contradiction impossible to ignore. And then, the crowd photos came out. Photographs from the memorial event appeared to show relatively small numbers gathered around the installation. On X, users called it out immediately. One person wrote, "Can you imagine flying all the way to Switzerland, and that is the size of the crowd?" Another said the attendees look more like passers-by. And as all of this was happening on May 19th, their 8th wedding anniversary, the royal family said absolutely nothing. Not a public post. Not a private message. Not a phone call. Rob Shooter, who has direct sources inside palace circles, reported that no senior royal publicly or privately contacted Harry or Meghan to mark the occasion. His source called the silence very intentional. The last time the royal family publicly acknowledged the Sussex's anniversary was in 2019, their first year of marriage. That was 7 years ago. Harry reportedly wants to reconcile. He has said so in multiple interviews. But sources close to the palace say the trust issues remain, and the silence on their anniversary suggests those issues haven't moved. It gets worse. Much worse. The combination of Geneva's sparse crowd, the Lilibet photo backlash, the AI speech accusation, Harry's pointed absence, and the royal family's total silence, all in the same 72-hour window, is the kind of week that doesn't just generate criticism. It resets the narrative. Let's step back and look at what this week actually tells us. There are two completely contradictory things happening simultaneously with Meghan Markle right now, and both of them are true at the same time. First, the Geneva cause is real. The Lost Screen Memorial is a legitimate, heartbreaking project. The children it honors are real. The work Archewell has done around digital safety for young people is documented and serious. A version of this story exists in which Meghan's Geneva appearance was a meaningful moment for an important issue. Second, the execution handed critics everything they needed. The Lilibet photo. The crowd size. The AI accusation. The luxury wardrobe backdrop on a child's image posted hours before a speech about protecting children from social media. Each one of those things on its own is a manageable criticism. Together, in one news cycle, they became a wall. Here is my opinion, clearly labeled as exactly that. I think the strategic decision to exclude Harry was probably the right call for the cause itself. I think Meghan understands, correctly, that his presence changes the story. And I think that understanding that she has to strategically manage her own husband as a narrative liability is genuinely one of the saddest things about where this couple's public life has landed. Fan reaction is more divided than it has been in years. Even communities that have historically been supportive of Meghan are finding the Lilibet photo timing difficult to defend. The criticism isn't coming just from royal watchers. It's coming from people who support the cause itself. Here's where I want your real take. Do you think Meghan is aware of the contradiction and posts anyway? Or do you genuinely think she doesn't see it? Because those are two very different things, and I don't think the answer is obvious. Drop it below. Industry insiders suggest, and this is entirely unverified, flagged clearly as speculation, that the Sussex team is currently weighing whether Harry's public role in future Archewell projects needs to be formally restructured, with Meghan taking clear lead position on advocacy and Harry stepping into a more background operational role. Completely unconfirmed. But not an unreasonable read of the direction this week has pointed them. Next week, we are going into Britney Spears, the dashcam footage, the police report, and what was actually found in that car. It is a completely different story, but it raises the same question. How much of what we see from a public figure is the real picture? If you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment. New video every day, and this story has at least 2 more chapters left in it. Drop your most honest take in the comments. I'll pin the best one. And I'll leave you with this. Meghan Markle flew to Geneva to fight for children who lost their lives to the internet and then posted a photo of her own child on the internet on the same day. She gave a speech about losing her voice. And she deliberately left the one person she chose to silence.